Hey guys, tonight we're heading into deep waters figuratively and literally. The kind of waters where even the GPS second guesses itself, and every sound outside the hull sounds like a decision you can't take back. Picture this salt-crusted railings, rigging lines, whining in protest, and a sky bruised in colors that shouldn't exist outside oil paintings or nightmares. You're 30 nautical miles off the coast, not far in global terms. But out here, 30 miles might as well be another planet. The wind is already starting to shift, and your hands are raw from hauling the foresail lines tight even with gloves. There's tension in the air that makes your neck itch, not the dramatic kind, just the subtle, lingering pressure that tells you something's off. And it's weird because the barometer said this would be a clear stretch, calm enough for an overnight run. You even joked about it over canned soup with your brother. Boring weather's the best weather, he'd said. Famous last words, huh? You probably won't survive this. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know where you're listening from and what time it is right now. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You don't feel it at first. It's just a tremor through the hull, like the boat shivering from an old memory. You're crouched on the forward deck, adjusting the headsail's tension where it's chafing on the port winch. Your brother's voice echoes from the stern, something about tightening the stays. You raise a hand to let him know you heard, but the wind steals the moment before it lands. The sun's setting behind you, flaring orange over a restless sea. Not angry, not yet, just impatient. There's a strange comfort to sailing at dusk. The ocean changes its pitch lower, more resonant, like it's clearing its throat. The sails sigh. The boat rocks with just enough rhythm to lull you into thinking you've got things under control. And that's the trap, isn't it? Because that's when the gust hits, a hard slanting shove from the northeast. It's not strong enough to flatten you, but it forces you into a reflex crouch, and for a split second your balance hangs by a thread. You let out a low laugh, nervous because you nearly fell, but also relieved you didn't. Then you look up. The sky's shifted, not just color tone. The blues have bled into slate, the clouds building like judgment in a courtroom. You know what sailors say, if it looks wrong, it probably is. No fancy degree needed. You shout back toward your brother. We might have a squall forming, but the rigging clatters in response. You squint toward the helm. He gives a thumbs up. He doesn't see it yet. You grab the handrail and move fast across the deck, clipping your harness in along the way. Salt air stings your eyes. You pass the wind vane. It's dancing now, confused. That's never good. You think about firing up the radar, but you're still clinging to optimism like it's your job. Then the boat lurches, hard, unnatural. The kind of pitch that makes everything feel hollow inside. A pot bangs somewhere below. You grab for the boom, instinctively catching yourself just before the deck bucks again. And then it stops. Not the storm, it hasn't even begun. But time. There's this awful pause, a pocket of silence before the ocean decides to really speak its mind. You glance toward your brother again, and for a second you're both locked in the same realization. This isn't a squall. The wind hits harder now, not gusts, pulses, as if the atmosphere is breathing wrong. You hear the groan of wood and strain of bolts. You mutter under your breath, well, this'll be fun. There's a maritime fact for you. Most sailboats under 40 feet can handle storms better than humans think. But only if the humans don't panic. You're trying not to. Your brother yells something, maybe reef the main. You nod, scramble toward the mast. You've done this 100 times, in training and calm, even once in a storm off Madeira, but never alone, never while the air smells like metal and the clouds look like they're bruising. As you reach the halyard, there's a ping, a tiny, almost polite sound. You look down. The clevis pin snapped off the shackle. That shouldn't happen, not unless the stress is already off the charts. You're halfway to cursing when a wave slaps the starboard beam. Cold spray nails your ear, And then comes the growl, the long, awful thunder that isn't thunder at all. It's the ocean's version of a throat clearing. Still think boring weather's the best weather? Here's a quirky fact in maritime folklore. Whistling on a boat summons the wind. You joked about it last week now. You can't remember if either of you did it. The mainsail snaps. You duck, adrenaline surging. And somewhere just behind you, your brother yells. Not a word, just your name, sharp, too sharp. You spin around one arm, gripping the stay, and there briefly you see his body illuminated by deck light. Then the deck's empty. The space where he just stood feels absurdly empty. Not just unoccupied, but vacant, like the world rewrote itself in the time it took you to blink. You lunge across the deck, not thinking about anything except that your brother was there and now he's not. The wind howls like it knows something you don't. You reach the stern rail slip once on a wet patch, catch yourself on the stanchion with a jolt that sends pain screaming up your arm, but you don't care. You're already scanning the waves, calling his name. Once, twice. A third time, louder than you've ever screamed in your life. Nothing, just black waves stacked against blacker sky. You know better than to take off your harness, but instinct presses against reason. Every part of you wants to dive in after him, but you also know a human body disappears fast in this water. Within 10 seconds, even trained eyes can lose track. And your brother isn't just in the water, he's in a rising storm. Your hands fumble for the spotlight. The switch resists. Salt in the circuit. Dead battery. No time. You yank it hard, and it finally flares, a weak arc of light cutting through the dark. You sweep it across the waves, a rope, a fender, foam, nothing with a heartbeat. You try again. This time you think maybe you catch movement. It's vague off the stern quarter, maybe 20 meters. A shape, a flash of red, his jacket. You scream his name again, hoarse now, and shine the light there. Nothing. You drop to your knees, gripping the rail so hard your knuckles bleach. He's a good swimmer. He was. You both used to free dive near that coral shelf off Phuket. Remember that trip you brought goggles that leaked, and he made fun of you for an hour. Now you'd give anything for that laugh. What the hell do you do? First rule of man overboard, stop the boat. But you're already under sail, and the helm's swinging too fast. The wind's accelerating, and you can feel it in the rigging. It's angry now. Alive. You unclip from the line and dart back toward the cockpit, each step a fight against a boat that no longer feels like yours. You grab the tiller, jam it port, sheet out the main curse when it doesn't release fully, reefing lines jammed. Doesn't matter, you need to circle back, a wide, safe arc. Maritime fact: in rough seas, turning a boat 180 degrees often takes longer than finding the person. And time is the one thing you don't have. You loop back anyway. You search, you scream, you shine the light again. You listen. You hear something. A slap, maybe a call, but it might also be your own breath bouncing off water. The ocean plays cruel tricks when it wants to. Sailors still argue whether you should drop sails in a rescue or keep them trimmed tight for maneuvering. You're not thinking about theory, you're just thinking about your brother. About the fact that he was here. And now he's out there. Do you remember the first time he asked to join a sail? He hated boats, said they were floating death traps with too many ropes. You convinced him. Took weeks. Promised calm waters. It'll be chill, dude. Now here you are. Storm winds at 35 knots. Swell at 3 meters and climbing. Your hands frozen to the tiller. Mouth dry, voice raw. He's out there. You sweep the spotlight again, and this time you see it. Clear. Unmistakable. A hand. Barely above the waterline, fingers outstretched, reaching, not waving, not moving. Your heart kicks. You scream his name again. The light trembles in your grip. But just as you adjust the course, just as you fight the rudder into compliance, the wave rolls over the shape. Gone. Gone like a story you wish you'd never told. Gone like those old wooden sailor figureheads, all painted smiles, slowly fading into salt and time. You stop shouting. You start whispering instead, like if you're quieter, the sea might give him back. You whisper his name again, softer now, as if the sea might be more generous to someone who asks nicely. It isn't. The only answer is the relentless slap of water against the hull and the chaotic breath of wind, which now sounds less like air and more like accusation. Your spotlight battery dies with a click that feels like betrayal. The darkness returns absolute. You blink, hoping your eyes will adjust, hoping your mind will calm, but it won't. Panic has its own tide, and it's rising. You stagger back toward the companionway, intending to grab the backup torch, the flares, anything. But your foot catches on a loosened coil of rope, and you tumble, shoulder smashing the cabin edge hard. Pain floods your side, sharp and immediate, but you bite down and get up. No time for hurt. You throw the hatch open and drop into the cabin like a diver breaching into a wreck. Everything down here smells of salt, damp wood, and fear. There's a saying, old sailors pass around. You can outrun the wind, but you can't outrun regret. You're starting to learn what they mean. You find the flare kit, pry it open with trembling hands, pull one out, crack it, and shove back up onto deck. Outside, the wind has shifted direction. You can feel it pushing, curling around the boat like a hand repositioning a toy. You hold the flare high, and it hisses to life, an angry red glow that casts everything into strange, pulsing shadows. You scan the sea, and scream again, and again. Nothing answers. Salt clings to your lips, your voice is gone. You fire another flare, wasteful, yes, but at this point you're past strategy. You're grasping at hope like it's a line tossed from heaven. Still nothing. A fun fact, flares, when viewed from sea level, are rarely visible beyond a couple miles, especially in heavy swell. You knew that. You fire anyway, because sometimes knowledge is useless when your heart's involved. You try the VHF, flip switches, turn the dial, press the call button. You even try Channel 16, the Universal Distress Channel. But there's no squelch, no static, not even the comforting hum of a powered unit. Dead. And just like that, something inside you drops. The radio's fried. Maybe salt corrosion finally won. Maybe the storm surge knocked something loose. Doesn't matter. All that matters is you're yelling into a vacuum, a digital indifferent void. You tap the mic again as if that might help. Whisper into it. Mayday, man overboard. Silence. You slide down into the cockpit seat, cradling the mic like it might change its mind. You think about the last thing your brother said. It wasn't poetic. Nothing grand. Just, I think we'll make good time tonight. Followed by a grin and a sip from that thermos he always pretended had tea, but definitely didn't. You laugh, but it breaks too fast. The sound is cracked porcelain. You sit there, eyes sweeping the horizon again and again. Red flare glow fading into night. No shapes, no movement. Just the constant slap of water and the sickening tilt of a boat carrying only half its crew. You wonder absently if he managed to grab hold of something. A buoy, a line. Maybe he's swimming. Maybe he's waiting for you. But you also know this sea. You know the cold. Even with a life jacket, and you don't know if he had it on hypothermia. Begins within minutes, in water, this temperature. Muscles seize, breath shortens, vision narrows. The human body isn't made for this kind of punishment. But your brother was always the stubborn one, the one who said never trust calm seas. They've got secrets. You wish he were here to say it now, to tell you what to do next. Because right now, all you can do is sit in a cockpit in a dead zone of signals, screaming into the wind and hoping somehow it listens. You don't remember falling asleep, but you must have, because when your eyes open again, it's darker than before. And colder. There's a wetness to the air that clings to your neck and fills your ears, a damp silence that feels almost cruel. For a moment you forget where you are. Then the boat lurches and memory slams back into place like a hatch door you forgot to latch. You bolt upright, the dead radio mic still in your hand, knuckles white from gripping it in your sleep. The flare casing lies at your feet, smudged with salt and grease. Your breath fogs faintly in front of you. It's gotten colder fast. You can't tell if it's because of the wind or because something inside you has frozen over. The sea around you is black ink now. No moon, just sky and water separated by the faintest hint of horizon if you squint hard enough. You check the compass. Spinning. Great. Another small betrayal. You've been collecting them lately. You flick the switch on the backup radio, portable, battery-powered. 1 bar, no light. You click the distress tone, no reply. You try channel 16 again. Still nothing. You're adrift, literally and figuratively. There's an emergency protocol somewhere in the back of your head, one you half remember from a safety course you took 3 years ago. Something about conserving energy, keeping course, hailing on the hour. But none of it matters when you're calling into silence. You light another flare, a brief red bloom over the waves. You call his name again, just once this time. Your voice comes out cracked dry. Still nothing. Still no one. You wonder if anyone ever checks for flares out here. Coast Guard patrols rarely get this far unless someone already knows you're in trouble. And no one knows. He didn't have a locator beacon. Neither of you thought you needed one. It's just a short run. That was the agreement. The lie. The wind presses harder now, slicing through your jacket. You tug the collar up, fingers, shaking not from fear anymore, but from exhaustion. You haven't eaten, haven't even thought of food. Your body's on autopilot. You start the bilge pump, check the lines, secure the tiller with rope so you can move below. You descend, hand on the rail the whole way, eyes heavy. Below deck it's quiet, too quiet. You grab a water bottle, force yourself to drink. Take 2 bites of something dry, maybe a protein bar. You don't remember, it doesn't matter. Nothing has taste anymore. You sit on the bench. Let your head fall back against the wall. The boat creaks softly, rhythmically, like it's trying to sing you to sleep. And that's when you remember the emergency flare gun. You jump up, fumble through the drawer beside the nav station. It's there, still sealed. A little miracle in plastic. You grab it, run topside, fire it high. It explodes above you like a second sun, a moment of pure, blinding light. It lights up the water. You spin. Look, hope, but all you see are waves, endless, uncaring waves. The flare dies, trailing smoke like a prayer that got lost on its way up. A maritime fact for you. Some of the oldest recorded flares date back to the 1850s. And they still work the same way. Make yourself visible and hope someone's watching. You fire a second, because what else can you do? You watch this one longer, letting it fade without blinking, letting your eyes adjust slowly back to the dark. It feels like the sea is mocking you. And for the first time, you feel something shift in your chest. Not panic, not fear. Acceptance. No, not yet, but close. You reach for the mic again. This time you don't say anything. Just hold it. Hold it like a lifeline. You wake again with the taste of salt in your mouth, not the clean kind like sea breeze on a sunny day, but bitter, metallic like guilt. Above deck, the wind has dropped into strange rhythms, not calmer, just inconsistent. The kind of wind that circles a storm's edge, testing your patience, taunting you. You haul yourself back up into the cockpit joints, stiff knees aching. Every surface is damp. Not just wet damp, like the ocean has finally decided to breathe onto every inch of the boat. You tap the radio again, even though you know better. Nothing. Still nothing. You check your watch. Dead. The display froze somewhere in the night. Time like your brother has slipped away. It's here in this quiet, strange moment of half-light and churning gray sea that you realize what's really happening. Not just the storm, not just the silence. You're alone. Completely. That kind of alone doesn't hit fast. It creeps in like water through a hairline crack. You think you're dry until your socks are soaked and freezing. You're doing mental math. How many hours has he been gone? What's the likelihood he had a flotation aid? How far could currents have pulled him? A maritime fact in moderate wind, a drifting object can move up to 2 nautical miles per hour away from its last known position. You calculate. It's been at least 5 hours. 10 miles minimum, maybe more. Even if he's alive, he's beyond sight. And you're a single person on a small sailboat with no working comms in waters that don't forgive mistakes. You shout again just to hear yourself, just to be heard, even if it's only by the sky. The clouds are pressing lower now, bruised purple and iron. You can't tell where sky ends and water begins. The horizon's smeared like charcoal across a damp napkin. It's supposed to be morning, But this isn't morning. This is something else. A world paused between night and never. You start checking everything with robotic precision, mainsail tension, knot, security, rigging lines. Not because it matters right now, but because if you stop doing something, you'll start doing nothing. And you're afraid of what nothing might mean. There's a noise, not from the boat, from the sea, a soft bump aft. You spin heart suddenly alive again. Something floated into the side. You race to the stern, eyes darting. A plank? No. A crate. Driftwood? No. It's a life ring. Yours, from your boat. Attached to nothing. How did he grab it? Did it fall loose? Did he use it? You haul it aboard, examining every inch like it holds a message. But it doesn't. Just your name half faded in Sharpie and a fraying rope. You pull it tight, coil it at your feet. You're breathing fast now, chest tight. Not because of the cold, because it felt like a sign and it wasn't. You sit down hard on the cockpit bench. Try to slow your thoughts. Try to be reasonable, rational. There are stories. Sailors found after days. People who floated on coolers, fishing buoys, planks of fiberglass. You want to believe your brother could be one of them, but you also know the sea doesn't reward hope. It tests it. You take a deep breath. Let it out through your teeth. Your jaws clench so hard you've given yourself a headache. Then against all logic, you try the radio again. Click, silence. Click, static. Your heart jolts. Just a sputter, but there. You turn the knob slowly. One bar flickers, then disappears. You thump the casing, whispering, "Come on, come on, come on!" A voice crackles. For half a second, then it's gone. You yell into the mic. A whisper shout of desperation. "Mayday, this is sailing vessel Harrow, man overboard, requesting emergency assistance, please respond." Nothing. Then a whisper of static, not a reply, just the ocean laughing in frequency. You drop the mic. A sailor's debate. Is it worse to be lost and not know it, or to know you're found and just barely out of reach? You close your eyes. Try to picture his face. Try to remember the last time you were both laughing. And all you can remember is him asking for extra mustard on his sandwich. It makes you smile, then cry, then laugh again. Because that's what being at sea does. It breaks you open one wave at a time. The wind picks up again, only this time it doesn't howl. It whispers, long, steady breaths across the sails, soft but insistent, as if the storm itself is waiting to see what you'll do next. You stare at the horizon until your eyes blur, then rub them with fists that taste of salt and oil. You're tired in a way that sleep won't fix, tired in your bones, tired of hoping. The compass is still spinning. You tear a piece of cloth and wedge it beneath the housing to stabilize the needle, an old sailor's trick you once read about but never tried. It slows, then sticks finally on a shaky east-southeast heading. Better than nothing. You take the tiller again. Not because you have anywhere to go, but because steering feels like control. It's the one illusion you can afford. And then it comes sudden and gut-wrenching. The guilt. Heavy, wet, unrelenting. You should have seen the wave, should have called the reef earlier, should have clipped his harness for him, should have said more, or maybe less. It doesn't matter what the storm does next. Nothing it throws at you will compare to the war going on behind your ribs. There's an old rule passed around docks and dive bars. Never sail with family. You'll either bring them home or bring them back in memory. You used to laugh at that. Now it feels like prophecy. You try to keep the boat steady, but your hand is shaking. The wind jerks at the boom with a whine. The rigging creaks in rhythm like a metronome of dread. You look down into the cockpit where your brother's thermos still rests in the cup holder. Unopened. Half full. You wrap your fingers around it, feel its faint warmth. He always said tea soothed him in a storm. You unscrew the cap. Whiskey. Of course. You raise it to your lips, let it sit there. Then you pour a little over the side, watching it vanish into the sea without a trace. To the stubborn fool, you whisper. The wind answers with a cold breath against your cheek. You remember how on your second trip together, he almost abandoned ship during a thunderstorm just because the head was clogged, said there's dignity and then there's whatever this is. You told him there's only one rule on a boat, don't die stupid. He'd laughed for 10 minutes. You laugh now, just once. It sounds like wind through broken glass. And then movement. Dead ahead. Small, flashing. You freeze. Could be a ship light, could be your mind again. You adjust the tiller carefully. Eyes locked on the blinking light. Green or white. Your brain is slow, sluggish. But it's there. Still there. You reach for the binoculars. They're fogged. You wipe them with your shirt. Lift them again. A mast. Tiny but rising and falling like it's dancing with the swell. Someone. Anyone. You blink fast. Try to focus. Are they turning, drifting? Are they seeing you? You reach for the emergency horn. Press it. A low, drawn-out sound that barely carries over the wind. Again. Once more. You grab the flare gun, load it with shaking hands. You fire. This one arcs high, too high, but it bursts with a sharp red glow that lights up the boat like a warship. For a second, everything is clear, sharp, exposed. You wave. You scream again. Nothing. But the mast light blinks again. You repeat the flare, this time lower, closer, more visible. You whisper, please. The light stops moving. It holds steady. It saw you. It saw you. Sailors still argue whether fate exists at sea or if it's just physics in slow motion. But right now you believe in miracles. You just hope they believe in you. You don't dare blink. That light, steady, now unwavering, feels like a thread pulled taut between you and the rest of the world. A reminder that you're not just a ghost drifting alone through the ocean's memory. You grab the portable radio again, thumb the call button. Vessel on the northeast bearing this is Harrow. I repeat, this is Harrow. Man overboard, radio failure requesting assistance. Nothing. You say it again, slower, louder. Still no reply. But the light holds. That's something. You swing the tiller hard, adjusting your course toward it. The boat resists, weather helm pulling, like it's arguing with your decision, but you win the fight. You always do. That's what your brother used to say when you played cards. He always folds, but never loses. Funny how that memory chooses now to surface. You trim the sails with fast hands, adrenaline humming through your body like caffeine in your bloodstream. You squint at the approaching light. Yes, it's definitely a mast, and you think you can just barely make out the shape of a cabin backlit in flickers. They're anchored, maybe drifting. You fire another flare. Red shadows flicker over the water. A gull cries, startled. Then silence again. Then a horn. Short, low, a single blurt, but unmistakable. They heard you. You laugh out loud, giddy, disbelieving. You shout thanks into the radio even though it's dead again. You don't care. You'd shout to the fish if it meant feeling less alone. As you inch closer, the shape of the vessel sharpens, an old trawler, maybe. Rust along the rail. You recognize the model, an older Baltic hull, fiberglass and grit. The kind of boat you only find in forgotten marinas and stubborn fishermen's dreams. You cut the sail and drift in under near-neutral helm. Just a few meters out now. A figure appears on deck. Small, hooded. They lift a flashlight and signal 3 short bursts. International code. I see you. You wave back. Your whole body is shaking. You try to speak, but your throat is a knot of seawater and emotion. They shout something garbled by the wind. You think it's, "Are you alone?" You nod, then shout back, "My brother, overboard, 12 hours ago." The figure doesn't respond immediately, just lowers the light. Then they motion, "Come aboard." You fumble for the docking hook, throw a line, miss, try again. Hands slippery, nerves short-circuiting. On the 3rd try, the figure catches it. Seconds later, you're tied off, stumbling across the narrow rail onto their deck. It smells like diesel and fish and something else, coffee maybe. The figure pulls back their hood, a woman, late 60s maybe. Wrinkles carved by sun and salt, eyes sharp ocean-colored. "Come inside," she says. You're shaking. You nod, mouth dry. Inside the cabin is warm, lit by a small oil lamp. A kettle steams in the corner. Charts and pencils and mugs strewn like forgotten thoughts. A small black and white photo taped to the panel, 2 men holding a sailfish. One of them looks vaguely like her. She hands you a towel, pours tea. You almost cry when you taste it. "I saw your flares," she says. "Old radar's out, but I check the windows every hour. Habit." You tell her what happened. Not all at once, just the shape of it. The rogue wave, the scream, the empty water. She listens without interrupting, just sips her tea. When you finish, she finally speaks. I lost my husband at sea, 1998. Took me 12 years to stop hearing his voice in the wind. You stare into your mug. You might still find him, she says. But if not, you already know the sea doesn't apologize. You nod. There's comfort in that, strangely. No false hope, no soft lies, just the truth. She points to the shortwave radio on the shelf. You can use that. Better range than your handheld. You move toward it slowly. Touch it like it might vanish. You lift the receiver, and for the first time in hours your voice doesn't shake. This is Harrow, Vessel Harrow, reporting man overboard, requesting search grid coordinates and air support. Repeat man overboard last seen east-southeast 10 miles off this bearing. A crackle, then a voice. Copy Harrow, we read you. Hold position, we're initiating a search. You close your eyes, and for the first time you don't feel like you're whispering into a void. You stay with her through the night. Not because you're afraid of being alone at this point. Fear has dulled into something slower, heavier, but because your boat feels haunted now. Like it still holds the echo of your brother's name carried in the salt, tangled in the sheets, pressed into the cushion where he last sat. She insists you lie down, offers the bunk. You refuse, but she insists harder. So you do. You lie there staring at the low wooden ceiling, tracing the knots in the grain, as if they might spell something useful. They don't. Above deck, the trawler hums, gently held in place by a redundant anchor she says she never used until this year. Feels like the weather changed how it wants to be trusted. You agree without replying. Outside, the sea has fallen into one of those rare states, motionless yet alive. Smooth waves roll like breathing skin. The storm has passed, but it hasn't left. It's watching from somewhere farther off, waiting to see if it's needed again. You doze eventually, not deeply, just long enough to remember something strange. A dream. You and your brother are kids building a raft out of driftwood and netting at some beach you can't name. He's laughing. You're arguing about which side is the front. A small wave knocks it over. He shrugs. We'll just float wherever it takes us. You wake with your hands clenched into fists. In the morning, she makes you coffee strong enough to wake a ghost. You sit on deck wrapped in a blanket watching a gray band of sky lighten. Then the radio clicks. Harrow, this is Coastal Patrol. Search vessel approaching your coordinates in 15. Weather permitting air team joins at 0900. You repeat your thanks like a prayer. She smiles softly. Now the wait begins. You spend those 15 minutes reviewing every detail in your head. His jacket color, his last location, the wind direction, the currents, the time, You know the sea by now, nothing stays where it started. When the search boat appears, it cuts through the low haze like a blade. Blue hull, tall massed men on deck, moving with quiet precision. One of them waves, another throws a line. You climb back onto your own vessel, the Harrow. She looks different now. Emptier. But yours. The search team boards briefly. Asks questions. Notes everything. Launches a drone. Deploys a sonar raft. Tells you their search will run 40 miles east-southeast in grid formation. You nod through all of it, silent and obedient. When they leave, you just stand there, one hand on the tiller, the other resting on the rope your brother last coiled. You whisper, "I'm not done yet." And you're not. You don't raise the sails. You don't follow them exactly. You do what your brother would have done. You steer blind toward where you feel he might be. A quirky ocean fact, loggerhead sea turtles use Earth's magnetic field to navigate thousands of miles with uncanny precision. Nobody knows how, just instinct. Who's how? You wonder if grief has a compass, too. By late afternoon, the fog begins to roll in. Not a slow creep like in the movies. This one drops fast like a curtain yanked across a stage. One moment you're watching the search boat dip along the far swell. The next it's vanished, eaten alive by gray. The world shrinks to a circle around your hull. Your breath grows louder. Every creak of the mast feels amplified. The lines tapping against the boom sound like someone knocking softly, rhythmically. You kill the engine. No point wasting fuel when you're this blind. The fog is thick, almost tangible. It dampens sound, but somehow distorts it too. Your own footsteps echo wrong. Your voice, if you speak, feels like it bounces inward instead of outward. You drift. You listen. And there it is. A sound. Not your own. Not the boat's. A voice. Far away, muffled. You freeze. It said your name. Not clearly, not loudly. But it was your name. Or something close. A long-drawn syllable followed by silence, like someone calling underwater. You spin toward it, eyes wide, hand on the tiller. You grab the radio, press the call button. Nothing. Still nothing. Hello, you call. Is someone there? No response. You call again. Just the fog breathing back. You scan the water's surface. No ripples, no shadow. But you heard it. You know you did. You lean over the side, eyes scanning the layers of mist for anything movement, light, color. A hallucination? Maybe. You haven't slept properly in almost 2 days. Hunger's curled into a tight knot somewhere under your ribs. But you know his voice. You grew up with it. Heard it through paper-thin walls and across dinner tables and shouted over boat motors. It wasn't memory. It was him. You shout again. Then listen harder. Sailors still argue whether fog is more dangerous because it hides things or because it reveals them. You hold your breath. There, again. A splash this time. Not a wave, something breaking the surface. You spin toward it, lift the binoculars. Useless, just gray on gray. You fire a flare, no hesitation. This one cuts through the mist like a dagger, casting everything in blood-colored light. The fog glows red for a moment, thick and otherworldly. Then you see it. Not a person, not your brother, but a life jacket. Floating, empty. You lower the flare gun slowly. The light fades. The color drains. The jacket bobs against your hull like it belongs here. It doesn't. You haul it aboard. It's his. Initials scratched in Sharpie inside the collar. Same one you told him to wear. Same one he said didn't match his vibe. He wore it anyway. Now it's empty. You sit down, hard. You hold it like something sacred, folded, damp, warm from the sun. A piece of him. Not him. You want to scream. But instead you whisper, "Where are you?" And the fog answers by shifting just slightly as if it too is looking. You hang the life jacket on the boom like a flag at half-mast. It sways gently, with the roll of the boat casting a shadow that feels too human, too close. Every time you glance that way, your heart stutters before your brain catches up. You sit at the helm, hands slack in your lap. The fog has swallowed the horizon completely now. You could be anywhere. You are nowhere. The radio remains silent. No voices, no updates. You thought contact with the patrol would feel like salvation, like an anchor in the madness. But now it feels like a signal that didn't stick. A flare that never landed. You whisper into the fog again. Nothing poetic, just his name. Just once. It doesn't echo. The mist swallows it whole. Then you hear it again. A voice. Close, clear, almost next to you. Your name. You whip around. Nobody. No one on deck, no one behind the mainsail, no shadows in the water, the radio still dead. But it was there. That familiar worn-down call, like when he was looking for you at a grocery store back home, casual and amused. That "I'm not worried, but where the hell are you" kind of tone. You're not imagining it. You can't be. You lean over the rail, scanning the surface. Nothing. Just slick water and your own breath. You call out again, then again, voice rising. This time you think you hear laughter. Not full laughter. A half chuckle. Like an inside joke only one of you remembers. But you do remember. The night you both got stranded in that little marina during a power outage, sharing a warm beer and joking about sea ghosts. You swore you heard a dolphin laugh. He told you that was me, dummy. You remember? And that sound. That was the same laugh. But there's nothing there. The ocean plays tricks. You know this. Hallucinations, auditory shadows, dehydration, stress, and still. You check the radar screen, just fog blur. No movement. Then a thud. Soft, right on the deck. You spin. A soaked glove. Dripping. Sitting perfectly in the cockpit. Your brother's glove. The one with the stitched patch he added after slicing it on a winch line 2 summers ago. You pick it up. Smell it. Diesel. Salt. Him. You scan the deck again. Look up. Nothing on the boom. Nothing tangled in the rigging. You are completely, impossibly alone. But something floated that glove here, or someone placed it. You lean against the rail again. No answers come. Only the endless hush of water licking hull. You stare out for a long time, searching the mist. Then somewhere far out in the fog you hear it. A new sound. Rhythmic. Oars. No. Engine? No. A voice. Your name again? Then silence. Sailors still argue whether the sea holds memories, if sound echoes longer over salt, if grief itself has a frequency. You close your eyes and ask yourself the question you've been avoiding for hours. What if he's gone, but not completely? You sit in the cockpit, the glove still in your hand, damp and clinging like something that doesn't want to let go. The mist feels thicker now, as though it's settled in to stay pressing against your skin and soaking into your thoughts. It's nearly impossible to tell what time it is. The sun is a dull smear behind layers of cloud and fog, more suggestion than presence. No shadows, no sky, just gradients of gray. You breathe deep, steady. You're not sure what you believe anymore. You've stopped trusting your ears. You've stopped trusting your memory. And now even your eyes are suspect, because you swear just for a second you saw him on the bow. Back-turned shoulders, hunched slightly the way he always did when thinking, wind tugging at the edge of his jacket. Solid. There. But when you blinked, he was gone. Nothing but rope and sailcloth. You rub your eyes hard enough to hurt. Your mind is tired. That deep kind of exhaustion sailors know, the one that hits after 36 hours awake, when time starts looping and the world turns slow and elastic. You've slipped into the edge of that state where reality has soft walls and dreams walk around in daylight. You pour water on your face, slap your cheeks. Refocus. You need a new plan. You need movement, logic, order. Something human. You start talking aloud, listing what you know. He went overboard around 2100. Wind from northeast. Current steady southeast. 10 to 12 miles out by now. Visibility 0. Sea temperature cold but survivable. For a while. You run through it again and again. You plot rough estimates on your paper chart. Arrows, circles, possibilities. Then you realize the wind changed course an hour ago. If he caught drift on a buoy or even debris, it could have turned him back toward you. You grab the binoculars. Start scanning slowly, methodically. Nothing but fog, but their weight. Something low, floating, white. You raise the scope again. There's movement, not drift. Deliberate movement. You stand fast, nearly slip. It's close, maybe 50 yards off. You grab the horn. 2 long blasts. No response. You shine a light. The beam vanishes into haze. You shout. Silence. You can't take it anymore. You start the motor. Turn the rudder. Head straight into the mist. The boat bumps against the chop, but you don't care. You squint hard. The shape comes into view again. Closer, closer. And then, just a fender, an old one, half deflated, probably been drifting for weeks. You kill the motor. The disappointment hits like a punch to the stomach. You sit back down, head low. A maritime fact. After 48 hours, the average search radius for a person lost at sea becomes too wide for small vessels to cover alone. It's not a death sentence, but it's close. You whisper his name again, and this time there's a whisper back. Your eyes shoot open. Not his voice, the radio. A garbled sentence, unreadable but real. You leap across the deck, nearly knock over the kettle. Grab the receiver. Harrow say again. Overboard subject description, search sector confirmed. You fumble with the button. Yes, male 31, red jacket, black pants, no beacon last seen. You list everything again. You're talking too fast, but they don't stop you. Copy that. Negative sighting. Search will expand southeast grid. ETA for overflight 1 hour. You drop the mic. You sit. And for the first time since the storm began, you exhale. He's still out there. Maybe. Probably not. But maybe. And maybe is all you've got. The fog lifts as suddenly as it came. No fanfare. No gust of wind. Just an invisible curtain being pulled back inch by inch. You barely notice it at first, only that the water ahead stops blending into the sky. Then the shapes return, distant swells, your own sails, even the sun, a faint disk behind thinning cloud. Your eyes sting with the sudden clarity. You'd gotten used to the blur. The search vessel reappears off your port bow, gliding silent as a prayer. You flash your light. They blink theirs back. They're still searching. That means something. That means he's not gone yet. You turn your scope toward them, then slowly trace the sea beyond. Your hands are steadier now, you're breathing calmer. There's purpose again, you're not just drifting. The drone buzz returns in the distance. The patrol's aerial unit. It moves like a dragonfly over the water, barely noticeable unless you know where to look. You follow its path with your scope, and then you see it, a shape in the water. At first it's like all the others, vague, indistinct, a trick of foam and desperation. But this one moves. You steady the scope, squint. The waves rise, then dip. It reappears. It's a person, head above water, floating. Your breath catches. He's there. You fire the horn 3 times. Wave a flare, though the light of day lessens its power. The search boat jolts into action, turning hard toward your direction. You grab the mic. Target sighted, human in water. Repeat, human in water, red jacket bearing 110-200 meters. Copy that, Harrow. Converging. Hold course. You push the throttle. Your boat surges forward, bouncing harder now. Your legs brace instinctively. You're not afraid. You're ready. The shape bobs closer. He's face down. No movement. You scream his name, not out of panic, but as a rope tossed across distance. A tether. Still no movement. The search vessel arrives seconds before you. They launch a smaller craft, a fast inflatable with 2 divers. You cut your speed drift close behind. They reach him. Flip him. Your stomach turns. He's pale, limp, but there's no blood. One diver lifts an arm. A signal. You recognize it. He's breathing. You fall to your knees. You don't cry, not yet. You just watch. Watch as they pull him aboard, wrap him in foil, check vitals. One of the medics gives a thumbs up. You grip the rail so hard your hands go numb. A quirky ocean fact in cold water hypothermia can trigger the mammalian dive reflex, slowing the heart rate, conserving oxygen. It's rare, but it has saved lives. Maybe it saved his. You don't board their vessel. You just follow. Close, silent, your boat shadowing theirs like a ghost that finally found its anchor. You don't stop watching until they signal confirmation. Stable, alive. You whisper one word, thanks. To the sea, to the wind, to no one, to everything. The sky begins to break apart in streaks of gold and pewter. The storm, long since past, has left the air strange and almost too quiet, like even the clouds are catching their breath. You trail the rescue vessel for miles, refusing to take your eyes off it. You keep thinking he'll vanish again, that somehow this was a mirage, a trick, a hope too heavy to hold. But every time you doubt, you see them move on deck, check a pulse, adjust a blanket. He's real. He's still here. Your hand finally releases the tiller. You didn't notice how tightly you were gripping it. The knuckles ache. Your whole body aches. But there's something underneath the soreness now. A dull warmth, like blood starting to flow again. You check the time, nearly 2 days. That's how long it's been since he went overboard. In training, they told you a person in open water lasts about 4 to 6 hours in the cold. Hypothermia sets in faster than fear. Muscles cramp. Thoughts go sideways. But sometimes the ocean forgets to kill. The VHF radio hisses back to life. Harrow, confirm. Are you returning to harbor or continuing to trail? You press the button. Trailing. Tell me when he wakes up. Understood. You'll be the first to know. You smile, a real one, small, tired, but real. The sun creeps through a slit in the clouds, casting a golden shimmer across the water. It looks nothing like the storm-torn sea from yesterday. It looks like an entirely different ocean, a peaceful one, a kinder one. You know better, of course. The sea is never kind, just temporarily merciful. You open the hatch, go below, and pour what's left of the coffee from the thermos he filled before the storm. It's cold now, bitter, but you drink every drop. It tastes like survival. You pull out a pen and scrawl the date across the inside of the chart table. Then under it, 2 words. Still here. Later you'll dock beside the patrol boat. You'll watch them wheel him out oxygen mask and place skin like porcelain. He'll look smaller than you remember, but his fingers will twitch. His lips will move. And later, still hours, maybe days, he'll open his eyes. He'll blink. And the first thing he'll whisper is, "Told you I float better than you." And you'll laugh. Because of course he would. The marina smells like diesel salt and wet rope, a familiar cocktail that never quite washes off your skin. It's comforting now, like something earned. You tie off your lines with the kind of practiced ease that only comes from exhaustion. Every knot is a muscle memory, every tug on the rope a silent prayer of thanks. The patrol team helps offload your brother. He's stable but weak, draped in silver foil and silent except for quiet groans as he's moved. His eyes flutter once, catch the sun, and shut again. He doesn't see you yet, but that's fine. You see him. That's enough. The medics do what they do. Vital signs, transport prep, quiet jargon between clipped radios. Someone asks if you want to ride along. You shake your head. He's safe now. The adrenaline is broken. You're hollowed out, sloshing with emotion that hasn't found a place to land. You watch them drive away, then turn back toward your boat. She's still there, battered and noble. Paint scraped. Lines tangled. One of the winches is bent out of shape. But she stayed upright. Held you through it. You run your hand across her rail. Good girl, you whisper. It's only after everything's quiet. No sirens, no footsteps, no engines, that the full weight begins to settle. Your knees buckle just slightly. You sit down on the dock, feet dangling over the water. The sea laps gently at the pylons, harmless now, reflective. You pull the soaked glove from your jacket pocket. His glove. You wring it out and lay it across your knee like a relic. The salt has dried in strange patterns, lines like lifelines, maps that go nowhere. Funny how the sea gives things back. Not everything, not always, but sometimes. Sailors still argue what the ocean truly is, monster or mother test or teacher. But after all of this, you think it might be something stranger, something quieter. Maybe the ocean doesn't want to kill you. Maybe it just wants you to understand what you're willing to lose. You close your eyes, hear his voice again, but not from the fog, from memory. Don't overthink it. If we capsize, I'm blaming your playlist. You smile. You realize slowly that for the first time in days, you're not listening for him anymore. He's not gone. He's just resting. And so are you. Evening slips in like a tide you forgot to watch. The sky turns lavender. First, then a deeper bruised blue, until the stars begin to peer through, one by one, tentative, like they're not sure they're welcome after the chaos of the storm. You sit on the deck of your boat now, tethered safely, gently rocking in her berth. The motion still echoes through your bones. Land feels foreign, unstable. Your brother is in a hospital room a few miles inland. Warm, monitored, safe. You called your parents. Didn't say much, just enough to let them breathe again. Your mom cried. Your dad didn't speak, but you could hear the way he exhaled, as if he'd been holding his breath since you left. You haven't showered yet, haven't changed clothes. You're still wrapped in the same salt, stiff jacket, and your skin smells like iron and brine, but you're here. You both are. The harbor's quiet, just a few masts, clicking gently in the breeze, halyards slapping in lazy rhythm. A gull cries from somewhere across the water, not in alarm, but like it's telling a joke only birds understand. You run your fingers across the soaked life jacket, now dried and folded neatly beside the glove. It's faded more than you remembered, the stitching's fraying, but it's still whole, just like him. You look up at the stars again. A quirky maritime thought, Polynesian sailors once navigated thousands of miles, using only starlight wave patterns and the taste of salt in the air. No maps, no radios, just trust and memory and the sky. You wonder if somewhere deep inside you were doing the same. The marina's lights blink on. You blink with them. Your eyelids are heavy. Your breathing's slow. You stretch out on the deck. Let your head rest against the cool wood. For the first time in days, you don't feel the need to scan the horizon. You close your eyes and smile, because the storm is over, because he came back, because you both did. The water is flat now, mirror still barely rippling beneath the hull. A breeze nudges gently at the sails, just enough to make them sigh. Not a warning, not a threat, just a lullaby. You lie there on the deck, eyes closed, letting the rhythm of the marina rock you. It feels like being held. The stars above are clearer now. No clouds, no haze, just infinite specks scattered across an ink-dark sky. One of them winks, then disappears behind a slow drift of mist. The dock creaks with the shift of tide. You don't move, you just breathe, in and out. The sounds of the harbor, the tap of rope, the hush of water, fold in around you like soft blankets. You think about the glove, the life jacket, the way his voice sounded when he finally spoke again. He'll recover. That much you know. Slowly. Unevenly. But he will. So will you. You think about tomorrow, but not with urgency. It can wait. Tonight is still here, stretched long and quiet across the sea. Somewhere far out, a bell buoy rings. The wind doesn't answer. It just carries the sound to shore, soft, constant, and safe. And with that, your breath slows even more. You let yourself drift, eyes closed, heart full, ocean calm.